Hi, I'm Carmi Levy, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my reel. I hope these samples of my TV and radio work tell the story of how I make complex tech easy to understand for a mass audience, and how much fun I'm having as I do it. Let's get to it.
Also, Google's deal to keep Canadian news in its searches.
It sets an important precedent.
No hard feelings, says Microsoft. They're happy to work with Altman, back at his old job, with a new board of directors. In a classic power struggle, Altman seems to have won.
The doomsayers have been vanquished. Those who want to accelerate the rate of artificial intelligence development won this battle.
Experts.
It allows customers to describe what they want to see, and then AI creates a short video of it. And while far from perfect,
as a demonstration of what the technology is capable of and a pointer to where this technology is going, it's absolutely eye-opening and stunning.
This after Musk appeared to endorse an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory this month and reposting it, writing, "You have said the actual truth."
He really does think he's right. He really does think the advertisers are wrong. He really does think it makes sense to couch this or frame this as a freedom of speech thing when in fact it isn't. It's what are you doing to stop the spread of hate speech on your platforms? And to that, Mr. Musk still hasn't answered.
The timing for one of America's biggest companies, say experts, couldn't be worse.
The federal government smells blood in the water. They're sending a message not only to Amazon, but to other big tech companies. The way you have done business for the past number of decades needs to end, and it needs to end soon. Deepfake video technology has become so incredibly sophisticated that it's increasingly difficult for even the experts to tell that that's not really Elon Musk speaking.
Tech expert Carmi Levy says the video Backhouse watched was most likely a deep fake impersonating Musk. He says you should never allow anyone to remote access into your computer unless you know exactly who they are.
When some stranger is using remote software to access your device, you want to stand over their shoulder and make sure that they're not logging into your bank account, robbing you blind.
You know, and John Chen looking at those 10 years, whether he thinks that, he achieved what he could with the company over that period of time.
I think he would probably feel that he did the best that he could with what he had, but it was not mission accomplished. It was mission partially accomplished. Certainly in comparison to his previous experience at Sybase, where it was a monumental turnaround, huge sellout, and an absolute success by every definition. That wasn't the case here. Under John Chen's watch, the smartphone business was essentially shuttered. They moved on from it. The collecting revenues from service operations also came to an end, and they sold off a lot of their intellectual property. And as they did that, what was supposed to take over from that simply didn't materialize to the degree that you would expect of an acknowledged turnaround expert. So he succeeded in terms of shepherding the company off of its previous businesses, but in terms of repeating the wild success that he had previously as the acknowledged turnaround expert in the industry, it simply didn't happen. And I think it made sense that at the age of 68, he was closing a chapter and he wasn't going to be opening up a new one. So if you have a friend in Germany and you comment on their Facebook post, there would be rules that dictate what can and cannot happen at that point. The experience might change radically for me and you, simply based on the fact that the data can't move as freely as it used to.
I'm curious whether you think a paywall helps or hurts this social media platform, Carmi.
It'll be the final nail in the coffin, Todd. There's no other way to look at this. This is not a shades of gray thing. It's black and white. I think a lot of Twitter users have kind of been hanging on, waiting to see where this goes. But I think when you finally start asking everyone to start paying for it, I think that's the moment where they say, I'm done. And ever since this story broke earlier today, I've been inundated with comments from friends, family members, colleagues saying, that's it, I'm out. And so I can't get any work done because my inbox is overflowing. And so I think this would be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I think we've seen just response to premium offering, $8 a month. They don't report numbers on that anymore because it's almost a rounding error, the number of people who've decided this is worth paying for. So even though he's saying just a small amount of money, probably somewhere less than $8 a month, it doesn't matter what the amount is. I think most people are looking at the value proposition of post Elon Musk Twitter and saying it's just not worth it even if you charge me $1 a month. No way, I'm out. I'll find something better to do with my time.
It's second most risky. It's called employment fraud. How does it work? And then what happens that allows people to be scammed?
Well, you'll get an email or a message in LinkedIn from out of the blue from someone saying, "Hey, you look like a really great match for this job. Just click on this link and then fill out the application process." And how many of us have filled out job applications in the past? We don't give a second thought to handing over all this private information to a potential employer because, well, we know them, we trust them, and of course, it's a much better job. The dollar figures are better. Everything is perfect, and so of course we do that. There is no job. We've just essentially handed over our private information to a scammer. We don't get attacked immediately, though. That's the sort of the thing. What they do is they then take that information and then they'll use it for future identity theft attacks. They'll sell it to other criminals. It'll go on the dark web. So it's one of those insidious kinds of crimes that because of the pandemic, because more of us have gone online and are looking for jobs during the day because we can, we're not in an office. Again, this is happening far more often, and the tools that they're using to convince us that they're legit, they're getting better. And it's harder to tell the legitimate recruiters from the non-legitimate ones.
There's a lot of kids that will opt out of taking part in that feature. So I guess, Carmi, is this what we need? Is this where we're headed, or is there something else that we could be looking at?
Yeah, any parent who thinks that some new tool from a platform is going to magically improve the way they can interact with their kids using social media is sadly deluded. That's not how it works. Meta is not going to solve this problem for us. We're going to have to solve it for ourselves as parents. No tool is good enough. There is no magic bullet or solution. It all comes down to open, honest, consistent dialogue between parents and kids. And I say this as a parent myself and a technologist, as we've been shepherding our own kids kind of through this valley. It has always been about open conversation, talking about how they're using it, asking them to feel comfortable enough coming to us if they see something that's kind of iffy, helicoptering in and assuming that you can directly control the solution or directly control the app or the service. It just doesn't work. And interestingly, the only solution really is the non-techie one.
This next headline is a mystery to me, so I'll let you unpack it. Doritos creating AI software to mute the sound of crunching chips. I thought the crunch was part of the fun.
It is, but then of course, when, for example, you're playing in a collaboration game or collaborative game with your friends, you can't hear each other, give each other instructions because you're too busy munching Doritos. So that does make a lot of noise when you're using your headset. I have firsthand experience. Don't ask why. They created an app. It's called Doritos Silent, and they worked with a software developer in Brooklyn. And basically, what it is it uses artificial intelligence. They trained it by listening to 500 people crunching on Doritos. And then they were able to create a data set of 5,000 crunch sounds. And then they trained it to tell the difference between those crunch sounds and what it sounds like when people are talking. So you use this app. It works only on Windows for now, but anything with a mic will work. So you're generally gaming on your computer anyway. It will listen for the sound and then it will cancel out the crunching. So it basically means you can put your headset on, you can play your games, and you can chew Doritos to your heart's content, and your friends will still hear you. The interesting thing is this also works on video conferences. So if you insist on eating Doritos or even vegetables or other foods that make noise while you're having a video conference with your colleagues, which I don't recommend that. Please, for the love of all that is good, don't. But if you must, you can use Doritos Silent to essentially block the sound. It doesn't block the visuals, though, and I speak from experience. That is enough to induce nightmares. We do know that by virtue of the way it's built, the way it operates, it will evolve over time. It will change. And to its credit, OpenAI has responded to the feedback, saying that they appreciate that people are sharing this feedback. They are looking into it. It illustrates a problem that we often call the black box problem, is that if you ask the folks at OpenAI what's going on inside, or why it generates answers the way it does, they can't tell you exactly. They don't know for sure. It's like a mechanic not understanding how the engine works on their car. And that's kind of where we're at with AI. It's kind of fascinating, but it's also kind of terrifying. So I'm hoping we figure this out. I think it's because as AI learns about us, it's like use Google for long enough. Eventually, it gets customized to the way you operate. It follows your habits. It learns where you live. It learns where you hang out, who you hang out with. And so I think that we're seeing the same thing with ChatGPT, is that it's simply learning more about us and it's changing the way it responds because of it. But I sure would like to learn more, because AI is far more, the worries around AI are far greater than just, a search engine. And I think we've got to have answers as we head into the new year.
Tell me about the phone that can send medical data while you're making a 911 call.
So this is, it's a feature that's built into certain Android phones. So if you have a Google Pixel or a Nothing phone, there actually is a phone called the Nothing phone. There's something called the Personal Safety app, which has gotten an update. And basically it allows you to share your medical information. So your name, your allergies, emergency contacts, if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, with first responders when you call or text 911. So when you do that, it automatically sends it in the background. This is really important in case, for example, you can't speak for yourself. Emergency responders will know this through the app. The Apple, of course, has had this as part of the Health app. There's a medical ID feature. They've had that for a couple of years. This adds it to Android. And the hope is, right now, it's only those Google Pixel phones. So you sort of have to have a specific device. But Google is pushing other vendors like Samsung to incorporate it into their platforms as well. They kind of use a slightly different version of Android that doesn't include the Personal Safety app as a default option. They are going to add this on over the next little while. This will save lives. If you can't speak for yourself, your phone will. Today on The Brief, we think we know what a ransomware attack costs. Lots of money paid to criminals, some downtime, a bunch of embarrassing headlines. And when viewed through a strictly monetary lens, a number of recent reports suggest a terrifying increase in the average payout per successful attack. Our data shows detection of ransomware incidents spiked 77% in the first 6 months of 2019 compared to the previous 6 months. And nearly 1 in 5 organizations reported a ransomware incident in 2019, with a whopping 3/4 being unprepared for it. The security analytics firm Cybersecurity Ventures points out ransomware caused $11.5 billion in damage last year, with cybercriminals increasingly going after large organizations, governments, and other entities responsible for critical infrastructure. And it doesn't end there. Thanks for watching my reel. As you may have noticed, I'm not your average tech analyst, and I'm always looking for new ways to ensure everyone gets the most out of technology. Follow me at Carmi Levy if you think I can help you tell better tech stories too. Have a great one.